If you're about to go through the military entrance processing station, i.e. MEPS, to enlist or commission in the military, this video is going to tell you everything you need to know to make sure that process goes smoothly. Now, how do I know anything about this? Well, for 3 years, I was a recruiter for the Marine Corps. I was the lowest ranking guy in my district of 9 states to be a station commander, and I was the Staff NCOIC station commander of the year for that district, which means not only was I an above average recruiter, but I was also very good at getting people through MEPS as the boss for the entire station. So you're getting this straight from the source, somebody who's out of the military and can now tell you the things that your recruiter might want to tell you, but maybe couldn't or shouldn't. I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know. So stay tuned, and at the end, I'm even gonna give you a full walkthrough MEPS Reef. Also, when I snap my fingers, I'm gonna change location because my video editor yelled at me about how I messed up the intro on this and I had to refilm it. So first thing, you're gonna wanna go up there, you're gonna spend the night in a hotel. So the way MEPS works, you go up the day before, the night before, stay the night in the hotel, you wake up butt crack early, do the whole MEPS process, and you come back. For us, we were 3 hours from the recruiting station, like the head command, the MEPS. And so we would send applicants up on a shuttle the day before. They'd have to leave at like 9 or 10 in the morning, shuttle up there, do all their stuff. And then they'd come back on a shuttle the night after. So they'd get back at like 7, 8, 9 at night, which was always fun because we had to sit at the station waiting on the shuttle. But a lot of like stations that are closer to MEPS just drop you off, right? And so you can, that timeline will change as far as how you get to MEPS and the hotel and whatever. But what won't change is this part. So very first thing, you're going to want to pack a bag with a change of clothes, right? So you are going to want to bring, like, you can wear whatever, wear comfortable clothes, whatever, to the hotel, but make sure you have appropriate attire for the MEPS day, and I'll talk about what that is in a minute. If you are going to be testing the day before, which your recruiter will let you know, then wear appropriate clothes on the shuttle and wear appropriate clothes for the day of MEPS, right? Bring a change of clothes. And when I say appropriate clothes, I mean, I would say treat this like business casual. This is a job interview. You are going up there to apply for the military. Treat it like a job interview. So I would always tell my kids, like, you know, nice shirt, so collared shirt. Doesn't have to be a button down, it could be a polo, but jeans, belt, you know, boxer briefs, like normal freaking underwear, and, you know, closed-toed shoes, nice shoes, whatever. You don't have to dress like in a suit because you're gonna have to take the clothes off and put them on at some of the, you know, different parts of the processing station exam. If you don't know, MEPS stands for Military Entrance Processing Station. So anyway, but bring nice clothes. Like, you are I used to tell people, like, you're a representation of me as a recruiter, so don't look like a bag of ass, and you're a representation of the Marine Corps. And we always prided ourselves as Marine Corps recruiters. Our kids always looked and dressed the sharpest when they were at MEPS. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, like, a lot of the applicants are in like jeans and a t-shirt, you know, khaki shorts and a t-shirt, closed-toed shoes, whatever, and we're like, no, you're wearing a collared shirt, jeans, belt. Like, you're gonna look nice because you are a representation of us and the Marine Corps. So conduct yourself professionally, even though you're not in yet, because that's what you're trying to become, right? For women, I will say this: you have to wear like granny panties and a normal bra. You can't wear sports bras. You can't wear lingerie or lacy things. You can't wear thongs. Like, it has to be like just normal panties. Like, they've got to cover your butt cheeks. You know, I think boy shorts would be okay, but like, you get the idea. Like, normal underwear. You don't want to be up there wandering around in a thong while you're around doctors and shit. You don't want to be wearing lingerie. And I don't actually know the sports bra reason. I think it's just because if you were wearing a sports bra when they do like tattoo checks or something, then you might just have to take it completely off. And so having a normal bra that is a little like more like a bikini top would allow them to say, we can see enough with you keeping that on. So that's my assumption. I honestly don't know. I'm not a chick. I never did that part. So no weapons at all. Now, this is a federal building, so like, no knives, no guns, no nothing. And I mean, I kid you not, like, if you, even a round in your bag, like, if you have something like that, it's not like TSA where they're just going to chuck the knife out and say, come back and get it later. Like, they will just send you back and say, nope, sorry, you're not coming in the building. And then you'll have to go back up some other time. And I had this happen once. I had a kid who, you know, I was a recruiter in Missouri, so it was hunting season, and he had like a 30-06 round in his bag that he didn't know about, and he didn't get to go through the processing. And I had one other kid who brought a pocket knife and didn't think anything of it because he wore it all the time. So just know No weapons, knives, anything of any kind, right? Just really, like, realistically, you should bring your ID and your cell phone and some water and clothes. Like, you don't need a whole lot. You're going to want to have your birth certificate, your driver's license, your social security card, and those are going to be required for enlistment. If you're under 18, you'll need parental consent with, like, your mother's, like, it'll have to document her entire change of name. So, like, if she's been married, divorced, married, you'll need the marriage, divorce, and marriage certificates. If married, divorced, you'll need marriage, divorce, and proof of what name she went back to. Like, you need to basically show the name she's signing under right now, how she got to that name through changes from maiden name, etc. And if she's signing under her maiden name, that's fine, but they will still need to track, like, marriage, birth, marriage, divorce, or marriage, divorce, back to maiden name, like, whatever that. And I say that your recruiter will have all this, your recruiter will know all this, but just be aware of it. And I say this because, funny story, I won't name the kid. I had a guy, him and his mom actually got divorced, and she went back to whatever name, and then got, like, found out they were pregnant, like, immediately after the divorce, and got married again. And the kid never knew. Like, they were like, divorced, oh shit, we're pregnant, married. And the kid never knew. And so she gave me the marriage certificate. She didn't go back to maiden name. That was the issue. So she gave me the marriage certificate from current marriage, and it didn't match. Like, when we went up there, they were like, this says that she went from not maiden name, like, from her current name to married current name, but where's the maiden name in this? And, like, the kid never knew that his mom and dad had divorced for, like, 3 months or whatever it was. And he found out at MEPS, and we had to go get the original marriage and divorce decree from mom and, like, fax it up. It was a whole thing. So you'll need all that. Just know, like, if you're under 18 and you need parental consent, that part of it, like getting mom's maiden name, like name, signature, that can be tricky too. I already mentioned it, like, look professional, right? You're representing your branch of service, and it's a job interview. So jeans and a t-shirt, easy win. Jeans and a collared shirt, easy win. Closed-toed shoes. Honestly, I would recommend tennis shoes just because they're comfortable, but, like, whatever closed-toed shoes you're going to wear, just wear something comfortable because you're going to be in them standing all day. Any and all jewelry needs to be removed. Like, even if you don't think somebody knows about it, it needs to be removed. If you're going to MEPS and you have a Prince Albert or a hood piercing, it needs to be removed. If you have nipple piercings, it needs to be removed. If you have, like, anything, any metal in your face, it needs to be removed. Like, all that stuff has to go out. And you are doing a full medical exam, so they will see it. Like, we got a phone call once. I can't even make this up. This was not my applicant, luckily, but it was one of our applicants. And this girl had... It was like she had her hood pierced and her belly button pierced, and she had, like, a chain connecting the two that was just like a decorative chain, and somehow thought, like, nobody would notice. Boy, that was a fun phone call. I got my ass chewed so much. Anyone who's watching this who is a recruiter can relate to this stuff, where you're just like, they did what? They had, oh my gosh, like, come on. So, yeah, pull out all the jewelry. You can put it back in after MEPS. You can take it back out before boot camp, but, like, pull out the freaking jewelry. If you're a chick, plain toes and fingernails, like, just basic, normal colors. Don't go crazy with that shit. Don't have the, like, Dracula claw craziness. Like, just normal toes and fingernails, because they're going to be, like, they're checking all this stuff, right? So if you're taking any tests, it'll be the night before. So that's the ASVAB, which is the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Test, or Aptitude Battery Test. I've got a few videos on how to study for that and what to expect with that. Or the PICAT verification, if you took the PICAT, which is another version of the ASVAB, at home, you'll do the verification the night before. Or the DLAB, which is the Defense Language Aptitude Battery Test. So that is, like, if you're going to be doing a linguistics, like a language, there are a few jobs that require that. So if you're interested in doing, like, a language job and you meet the ASVAB requirements, you would take the DLAB. And so here's the way this works. If you've already got an ASVAB score from high school, or, like, your recruiter took you to take it or whatever, then you would do the DLAB the night before. If you've never taken either, you would do the ASVAB the night before, and then you would either do the DLAB at, like, incredibly early the next morning before everything else starts, or you would do everything else and then either do the D lab if they have enough time at the end of the day, or you would have to go back up to MEPS to take the D lab. And I think there's like one other test. Like I know the Army, maybe the Air Force, they do like a psych test. The Marine Corps, we don't use whatever test they use for that. We use like your background history and medical records and stuff. I don't honestly know what that test is, and I think there's some other ones depending on like security clearance or what job you're trying to do. Like I would imagine the Navy probably has one if you're trying to go into like nuclear field. Like I don't know. So there are some other tests, but the brunt of it is if you have tests to take, your recruiter will tell you you'll do it the night before. Then you'll go to the hotel. The hotel is super sick. At least most of them are. They have like a room where you can play, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. No co-ed stuff, so like you'll probably have a roommate. They'll probably put you up with a roommate, but like no girls allowed in your room if you're a guy, no guys allowed in your room if you're a girl. They will have a lights out, usually like 10 p.m. And then, you are going to be up at like 4:30 in the morning to go to MEPS, and they'll shuttle you over. So like actually get some sleep, right? I understand you might be excited, jittery, whatever, but like go to sleep. Bring a fiction book or a boring book or something and sit there and read it until you fall asleep. So after the test, you'll get shuttled to the hotel. You'll do all that. No opposite sex in your room, no drinking, no whatever. I will say this, and this is a weird one, but I'm going to just say it because I'm trying to give you the full thing. Men, don't slay the dragon that night or the next morning. However you want to say it. Don't jerk off, right? Because, and if you do, like for the love of God, make sure you go to the bathroom and piss like 2 or 3 times, because oddly enough, if there's too much protein in your urine, you can fail the urinalysis and have to go do the medical portion for that again. And so if you were to like jerk off and then not, I don't know how you say, not break the seal, right? Not urinate. And then you go to do the urinalysis, there's a chance that whatever was left in your tube would create a higher than normal protein in your urine, and you wouldn't be qualified. And I know this is the weirdest thing ever, and believe me, it's the weirdest thing to like tell high school kids, like, hey dude, don't freaking beat your meat before the MEPS exam. But it happened when I went through MEPS, not even as a recruiter. When I went through MEPS, one of the other kids, his protein was too high in his urine, and when they asked him about it, that was what he said. He's like, oh, I don't know. I woke up and I jerked off, and then I came here and I have been holding it all day waiting for this urinalysis. And they were like, oh my God. And so he had to go back up another day to just pass the urinalysis to enlist. So like, can't make this shit up, right? Don't drink coffee. Don't drink any caffeine that morning. I don't care if you're like a grown-ass 25-year-old man and you drink 3 cups a day every day. Don't drink coffee that morning. And here's why. One, because, like, I said so. So there you go. No. The urinalysis, the caffeine, the everything, like, it can throw all that off. So, like, you want it to be just clean, right? But the other side of it is blood pressure. You are excited and nervous and all the other things that can elevate your blood pressure while going through MEPS. Like, it is a stressful situation. It's not a lazy day in the office. It is not a like super enjoyable like thing, right? Like, so you're going to be a little bit on edge, a little bit stressed, a little bit whatever. All of that can elevate your blood pressure. So does caffeine. So between the two of those things, if you're stressed out or excited or nervous or whatever, and you've got 2 cups of Joe pumping through you, now your heart rate's too high, or your blood pressure is too high, then you'll have to go back up for a blood pressure thing. And what they do for that is, like, sometimes they send you to like a clinic out in town, and sometimes they make you go back up there, but they will have you do like 3 different blood pressure tests to get an average that's below what is okay for enlisting. And what's weird is there are some people who even have an issue with blood pressure tests. Like, it's like the moment you put the cuff on, their blood pressure just spikes, and they get like, I don't know if it's nervous or what, but that happens. So like, we had a dude that we had to like, no shit, we had to like take him out to this clinic, and like we went with him as recruiters, and we're like, okay, breathe, calm down, like close your eyes, there's nothing going on here, this is just me, like we're just holding your hand, like nobody's wrapping this thing around. Like, it was a whole weird thing. So like, people get weird around that, just like they get weird around needles. You never know. Okay. If you have done any kind of drug that could be in your system, tell your recruiter. specifically marijuana. If you've smoked pot within the last 45 days, tell your recruiter. Here's why. Now, I know weed is normally out of your system in 30 days. Got it. If you've smoked within 45, just play it safe. Tell your recruiter, go back up another day. Because if I cancel you going to MEPS and I say, hey, and when we gave your analysis like a pre-test, like piss test, marijuana, like screening, drug test, urinalysis, the morning we sent people on the shuttle. They had to do that test and clear in my office before they could get on the shuttle. But even then, you could still fail the one at the office because it's more, they do like a real test, not just a little piss in a cup test. So be honest with your recruiter, and here's why. If you've smoked marijuana before, that is not a disqualifier for the military. Now, depending on how many times you smoked, it could be a waiver. We'll dig into that at the end of this video. But it's not a disqualifier for the military. If you pop at MEPS, it is a permanent disqualification because they will assume that you smoked like the day before and you were like high trying to get into the military. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. If you fail the piss test, the drug test at MEPS, permanently disqualified, nothing any branch of service can do for you. There is no waiver for that. Maybe if like World War III draft popped, okay. But current military standards, done. Sorry. See you later. Have a great life. Goodbye. High five. Nope. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. You're so not worth the risk. If you're even close, just tell your recruiter and they'll be like, oh, okay, fine. You can go next week or 2 weeks. Like, what date do we need to go? Cool. You'll go up on that date. We get it. We see it all the time. So be honest about that shit. And I will say secondhand smoke is not a thing. Like if you were around somebody who was smoking and you didn't freaking smoke, you're fine. But just play it safe, right? And just have an open conversation about that with your recruiter. Now, I will say, there are certain drugs that are just permanent disqualifiers, right? Like heroin, meth, coke. I don't know if that list has changed, but like, do your own research. And if you've tried something that is on the like PDQ list, I'm not going to tell you to lie to your recruiter, so I'm just going to move on and hope that you understood the intent behind my pause there. All right, look. At MEPS, these are some of the things you're going to go through, right? Needles. You're going to get poked. Like, you're going to do blood tests. So if you are the type that, like, dies with needles, whatever, like, I don't know, look away. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not that guy. So, like, just breathe, look the other way, hope you don't pass out and die. Like, we'll make fun of you. No, not really. But audiology, you're going to do audiogram. So that is, they're going to put you in, like, a soundproof booth. They will put fancy, like, left, right, uncomfortable-ass headphones over your ears, and they will have beeps at weird intervals. It'll be like, beep, beep, and then you click the button if you heard the beep. So it's like, beep, click, and then it'll change to, like, it'll be like, beep, click, beep, click, beep, click, beep. And then it gets to a point where you're like, did I hear that? And if you think you heard something, click it, right? Like, but if you don't know for sure, like if you're just like, no, there was nothing there, like, that's okay. It is testing. It gets at every different frequency in the normal range of hearing, it starts and goes lower or quieter until you can't hear it anymore. And then it'll like come back up one or two until you click it again, and then it'll go back. And so it's trying to find like where you actually, like your baseline is. And so just click. If you think you heard something, click. If you think you heard something, click. If you think you heard something, click. It will tell you if you're like just guessing, because it'll literally come over the headphones and be like, do not click if you don't hear anything. Yes, I know that from experience, because after getting blown up in Afghanistan, this ear doesn't function very well. I actually have a hearing aid I'm supposed to wear, and so I have, on multiple occasions now, failed the out of that test. And like I'm at the point where my last 2 audiograms in the military, because it was an annual requirement, I was allowed to wear my hearing aid in the test to try to pass, and that made a difference, right? But so that's what the audiogram is. Vision, they're going to do like your regular, like the chart with the letters that you have to read as they get smaller on the way down. Then they'll do color, which is like if you ever seen those like circles with like a bunch of different colored dots, and then there's a number in it, and you have to pick out the number, and that tests like whether or not your eyes can see the difference in colors because they're close enough. And then you'll do depth perception, which is like, I want to say the test is like, it'll be like 5 dots, and you have to pick out which dot is smaller or bigger, like which is the different size. And then it'll be like 5 squares. You have to pick out which one's a different size. And so just, you'll have to pass all those, right? You'll do all those. It's not the end of the world. Like if you fail color or depth, that's fine. Depth perception, you won't be able to do like driving jobs or flying jobs. Color actually disqualifies you from probably more jobs than most anything you can fail or mess up at MEPS. And unfortunately, it's something that you just have no control over. You know, you can't be an electrician. You can't be, there's a lot of jobs that require color vision. So you'll go from like 200 or 300 jobs that you're qualified for to like 20 or 40. Which is unfortunate. But at the same time, there's still some good jobs in there. So there's still opportunities. There's still good stuff. Realistically, like, there are waivers for shit once you're in the military, too, for some of that stuff, depending on job field and whatever, right? So, not the end of the world, but just know all those tests are there. Your analysis, fair warning, you are going to be watched like a hawk. Like, somebody's going to be, like, staring at your junk. It's like, I don't think it's as bad at MEPS as it is at boot camp. Like, at boot camp, they're straight up like, let me see the tip of your dick. I need to watch the pee leave your body. Like, that's what the Marine Corps order is on your analysis. It's like, no, we gotta watch the stream leave. So we know you don't have some fake rubber dick or somebody else's piss trying to pass this test. Because, yes, people do that. So, it's not that bad, I don't think, at MEPS. I think MEPS is like, they have just like a wall of urinals, someone stands at the end and you pee in the cup. But it will be like an uncomfortable analysis. So I always tell people, like, drink more water than you think you need to and hydrate, because being overhydrated when you're uncomfortable will help you, even if it's uncomfortable beforehand. And yes, you can fill the cup and then finish peeing, so like you'll be fine. Here's a big one. They're gonna go through the 2807, which is like the form you submit where you're like, yes, I've had this, no, I've not. Like, nope, 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 nope. And then you're like, yes, I had stitches, and then on the back you write, you know, I had stitches in my thigh because of this, and it healed fully, and I had no further complications or whatever. And so they're going to go through that and grill you, and they're going to be like, are you sure there's nothing else? Like, they're going to try to scare the living hell out of you to admit something that's not on there. They don't have a mechanism. Like, if you never went to the doctor for things, and it was never documented anywhere by anyone, it doesn't exist. So let's say you thought you dislocated your finger when you were like 10 years old, and your mom was like a nurse, and she's like, your finger's good, and you never went to the doctor. You may have actually dislocated your finger. It may be legit. It might have happened. You might have even broken your finger, and your mom just had a splint, and she just did the thing, and you were totally fine. I don't know. That shit used to happen. If you never went to the doctor, there's no record of it in existence, just keep your mouth shut. And I'm not telling you to lie to your recruiters and to MEPS and to everyone else, but there's no record of it. So if you bring that thing up, then they're going to require records to validate this thing, which means you're going to have to go get some exam on your finger to prove that it's okay, because there was no record of the injury and therefore no record of it healing. And you're saying, hey, my finger dislocated. And they're like, great, did it heal? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, how do we know that? And you're like, and they're like, no, not good enough. We need documents. And so, like, one of the things you have to remember here, I'm sure not all MEPS are this bad, but we used to tell our applicants, look, do you know what they call the student who got the lowest, like, graduated the bottom of his class in medical school? Like, barely got by, bottom of his class. They call him a doctor. And that's who's working at MEPS. So not all MEPS are this bad. But these are not generally the highest paid doctors, and so they're generally not, like, they're not often going to go out of their way to like, oh yeah, your finger looks fine. They're going to be like, nope, I need documents, because they have to sign off on you. And so they want to see another doctor saying, yep, it's all good, because they don't have the time to stop and do a finger exam on everyone who's ever had, you know, the potential for a dislocated finger or whatever, or pop their knuckle a weird way, or like they don't have time to go through 200 kids every day where they're like, oh, you had this thing? Yeah, let me check it out. Ah, it looks okay. Like, no, they want the professional who looked at it in the first place, or your primary care physician, to sign off on it and come back. So you'll have to go back and do whatever. And so Here's the thing. This is what I wrote down. Do not tell that MEPS, don't change anything that you told your recruiter. No, we used to say this. No stands for new opportunity. So if you say no on the medical exam, you now have the new opportunity to join the military. If you say yes, that means your enlistment stops. That's what it means. Because what will happen is this. If you change your mind on something, you're like, oh shit, I might have had this thing. And you put it on while you're up at MEPS. They'll just pause and be like, well, sorry, we need documentation on this. Like, if you're lucky, like super lucky, they'll send you somewhere out in town midday, have it checked, come back. If it's like simple. Like, we had a guy once, a couple times, where like their ears were too dirty to do the audiogram. And so they would like send them out in town, get their ears cleaned, come back, pass the audio exam. That's very rare. Usually it's like, sorry kid, go back to your recruiter, go pay out of pocket to have this shit done, like go fix all this stuff and come back another day. That's just a pain. And so, but there are things where if you change it, they'll do that. They'll just be like, nope, go figure it out. And so let's say this. Here's the reality, right? Like, I'm not telling you to lie to MEPS. If you remember and you're like, oh shit, I did break my arm and I totally forgot that I had that fracture. Like, for example, my son, when he was like 4 years old, yeah, probably 4.5 years old, he fell off the front porch on the 4th of July. Ironically, he had like a big Hulk figurine. Hulk fell off. He tried to grab it and he just went over the porch. Not a huge drop. Very, very tiny fracture in his forearm. Totally fine. Wore a sling for like a week. Like, I don't even remember if he actually had to get like an actual cast or if it was just a sling. It was not a huge deal. But there's a really good chance he's not going to remember that. Like, when he's signing, if he goes to the military at 18, 20 years old and they're like, have you ever broken a bone? And he's going to be like, no. And then he might get to MEPS and when they're like grilling the shit out of him, be like, oh, I did have a fracture once. So here's what happens. If you bring that up, guaranteed your enlistment stops until you get all those medical records. So one of two things happens. Either your recruiter runs around like a chicken with his head cut off to find those documents from whatever frickin' doctor you went to at whatever frickin' hospital you went to, assuming you can remember that, and faxes them up to MEPS, or scans and emails them up to MEPS, and gets them in time that you're still able to enlist that day. And then your recruiter's all pissy because he spent all day chasing shit that he should have known ahead of time. That's the best case scenario. What's most likely going to occur is they say, go away, get all these documents, come back, and we'll do the rest of the exam. Whereas the argument that I'm making for you is this. If you remember something petty like that, what you do is you just don't bring it up. And I'm not telling you to lie to MEPS. This is what you do. Do not bring it up. Finish the exam completely. When you enlist, you swear in, you raise your right hand, you're like, I, David Pere, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution, defend all enemies against foreign and domestic, whatever that whole thing is. And then you come all the way back to your recruiting station, you're like, that very night, you're like, hey, your recruiter's gonna be like, how'd it go? You're gonna be like, great. Also, hey, while I was there, I remembered I fell off the front porch when I was like 4.5 and I fractured my arm. It was totally fine, no big deal. I wasn't lying to you, I forgot about it. But I didn't bring it up at MEPS. What do we do? And your recruiter's going to go, oh, no big deal. We go get the documents and we send them up to MEPS. And it's called I forget the official term, like a post-dep disclosure or something like that. Like, you are able to disclose things after enlisting. So like post-enlistment disclosure, a PED, something like that. There was an acronym, but whatever. That's what it is. It's like, oh, all right, well, I'll go get the documents tomorrow when I've got some time. Or, hey, you go get the documents and bring them to me. And then we'll just send them up there. The doctor will review it and go, yeah, this isn't a big deal. Approved. And you're already sworn in, so you don't have to go back up to MEPS. You don't have to take 2 more days off work and drive to Kansas City and do whatever. Or, deal with all this bullshit. Like, you're good. Now, there is always the chance that it's something that is so bad that you don't get to enlist. But in that case, like, would you rather have your recruiter have the opportunity to try to help you through it after you're already sworn in? Or would you rather get told, like, get bent, leave, and you, like, it's better off. Like, your recruiters are there to protect you, to help you actually get in the military. The doctor is there to disqualify you, to make sure nobody who's even, like, iffy gets in and gets hurt, right? So talk to the recruiter, the guy who's there to help you, and he'll help you navigate all this. And don't talk to the doctor about things you didn't talk to your recruiter about, because he's going to screw you, and then your recruiter's going to be left trying to cover the pieces. I unfortunately had a few different applicants that we were not able to save from things that they said that either had never been documented or there was no record of or whatever. But once you say it, like, cat's out of the bag. If you're like, I think I had shoulder surgery, and really you just had a separated shoulder and wore a sling for a little bit, well, now there's no record of shoulder surgery, but you said you had it. So, like, don't self-diagnose. You're not a freaking doctor. I know that's like the longest tangent ever, but that is what disqualifies most people at MEPS. Opening your mouth. Another thing on that is, like, well, we'll get to this in a second, actually. So at MEPS, you're also going to do called the duck walk in your underwear. It's going to be awkward, but it's to make sure your knees and ankles and joints and everything work. You are going to, like, the doctor's going to check your freaking balls, or your, I don't know what they do with the women's side. I'm not one, but they're going to check your genitals, make sure everything's in function. So, like, as a guy, you're going to get to do the awkward, like, turn and cough to make sure you don't have hernias and your shit all works and whatever. They're also going to make you freaking pull your underwear off, bend over, and spread your ass cheeks and look for hemorrhoids. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not like a... No, this is like quick. You like spread your cheeks, look at your butt, cool, you're good, go on, like whatever. If you're at MEPS and somebody starts playing with your bunghole, you should probably bring that up to one of the MEPS liaison recruiter guys, because that's some serious, unnecessary sexual assault stuff going on. All right, they're going to do legal and background screening, verification, fingerprints. So you're going to fingerprint, and they're going to run it through a database. And this usually comes back like a week or two later to say you're good. So if you had something legal, bring it up. Even if it was like dismissed or dismissed nolle prosequi or whatever that is, or if you think it was expunged or taken off your record, like, bring that stuff up, because you never know, it might pop up. The recruiter will tell you if it's not a big deal. But on the legal side, it's actually better to have all your docs run up to MEPS prior to you going to MEPS, because then they can approve everything, get everything done, run whatever waivers. Then you go up to MEPS, you swear in, rather than like having to go to MEPS, come back, get legal docs, go back. Or worse, I had an applicant once who went to MEPS, enlisted, swore in, everything was great. And like 2 weeks later, his shit came back and they were like, did you guys know homeboy was deported 3 years ago? Like, no, let me call, I think his name was Jose. Like, let me call my recruiter and figure out what the hell. And I'm like, yo, did you know Jose was deported? And he's like, actually, in this case, the recruiter knew about it and thought it wasn't going to show up. And I'm like, you're an idiot. But then he came back legally, and now he's good. But we still had to go get all the freaking legal docs and make everything line up to, like, be able to show, like, no, he's good now. And had that been something, like, that was going to take forever, they could have just discharged him and made him come back in. So, like, just easier to get medical or legal docs ahead of time. The background screening, like, you're going to do what we call, I think it's the SF-86. Like, you'll fill out the whole questionnaire for background checks. Everybody gets the security clearance when they join, but this will be where they determine if your security clearance is most likely going to pass for certain clearances. So, like, they'll look at it. Everybody gets a basic clearance, like a secret, but they're going to look and be like, we don't think, like, this would preclude you from a top secret. And so if they can look at your record and know immediately, like, nope, sorry, this is going to stop you from that, then that'll limit your jobs on some stuff. Like, you're not going to be able to be an intel guy if you don't have a top secret clearance, or, you know, whatever. So, but it's always better to get the legal stuff and the security clearance screening and all that stuff done ahead of time, but your recruiter will walk you through all that. Drugs. Stick to your answer. Nobody is going to know if you smoked pot twice, or 200 times, or 20 times, or 4,000 times. Most likely, you don't have an exact logbook count of every time you ever smoked pot. So if you don't know how many times it was, and they don't know how many times it was, then no matter how much they scare you into trying to confess that it was more than what you originally said, nobody actually knows, and nobody can prove otherwise. And unless your homie that was high with you wants to go up to MEPS and be like, that bitch is lying, he smoked 13 times and he's saying 11. Like, nobody will ever know. And so this pops at MEPS and this pops at boot camp. They scare the shit out of you at MEPS, you change your number, or they scare the shit out of you at boot camp and you change your number. That's the worst. Do not change your number at boot camp. that'll, like, you might get kicked out of boot camp. I'll look like shit. You'll look like shit. Everybody will look like shit. We can't protect you at boot camp. At MEPS, it's different waiver levels. I don't remember the exact numbers, but like under 10 or under 5 was a certain, no waiver really required. Then under 50 was a waiver. Then under 100 was a waiver. Then under 200 was a waiver. And then like over that, it was like a CG waiver. Like, and so they just become more complicated and more like information they're going to want to, like, at some level for those waivers, they want like character references from like your employer, your football coach, your like non-family people who know you and will vouch like you're not a human, like you're not a piece of trash. You're a decent freaking human being. And so just pick a normal number and stick to it. You're like, yep, I smoked pot 7 times. The reality is that number is probably not accurate. But if you don't remember the accurate number, then no matter what number you tell your recruiter, you're lying. So if you're lying unintentionally because you don't remember, pick a number with a lower waiver. Now don't say you've never smoked pot if you have. That's just setting yourself up for failure, and nobody gives a fuck if you smoke pot. Just pick a number like, I don't know, single digits are great. Low double digits are also okay. If you get into the triple digits, I'd say maybe reconsider your number because you don't remember. But if you're going to misremember, like misremembering a lower number is better than misremembering a higher number. I'm going to just leave it there. And again, some of these other drugs, talk to your recruit. Well, do your own research online. Just know some of these drugs can be permanent disqualifiers. So do your own homework. And know that if it's not in your system, nobody ever knows about anything. It's funny, too, when you think about it. Like, potheads are usually, like I say potheads, right? But, like, people usually don't want others to know about their drug usage. Like, that's not usually something people are, like, in high school. They're like, yeah, dude, look at all these drugs I'm doing, like, in front of your teachers or your principal or your parents. Like, usually it's, like, something you'd keep to yourself and your friends. Like, even if you're a big party guy, you're usually not, like, advertising, like, check out how much pot I did, in, like, public settings. And then for some reason you go up to MEPS and you're like, oh my God, I gotta tell. Like, no, just treat it the same way. MEPS is your parents. They don't want to know. Okay. And then finally, job selection, right? So, like, every branch does this differently, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. The Marine Corps, we send up 3 job codes. We do codes, so, like, logistics is a code that has a bunch of different jobs. We have infantry. We have, like, here's the thing. I can't say you're going to be a machine gunner. I can say you're going to be infantry. And then once you get to the infantry, like the School of Infantry, they will pick what section you go into, a lot of times based on your physical capabilities. Like, you are not going to be a machine gunner if you're 120 pounds and can't carry a 80-pound 50 caliber machine gun or a 120-pound Mark 19 or whatever they weigh. That's just not going to happen because they're not going to put you carrying a weapon system that weighs almost as much as you do, because it's going to put everybody in the platoon at a detriment of your capability. So what I always told people is, like, if you go to infantry school, you find the 2 or 3 MOSs that you really like, and you get to know those instructors because it's kind of a draft. And you're like, I really want to be a machine gunner. Go talk to the machine gunner guys, and also work out, lift weights, be strong, put out. And then they will, and I don't mean sexually put out, get your mind out of the gutters, and, like, put in some effort, and then they'll be more likely to pick you when it comes time for that. So that's kind of how the Marine Corps does it. It's by, like, job code, like job grouping, and then we give you those options. We don't promise you anything, and we don't even talk through that until you come back from MEPS, because like I said, your screening, like your background screening, can change that. Your legal, your drug use, like any of those waivers can change what you're eligible for. If you require a CG level waiver for drug or legal, like that might preclude you from some jobs. Your color vision can change it. Your depth perception can change it. Your ASVAB score and your correlating, like, job scores, right, can change it. Some of these branches promise you a job, and then you go to MEPS and you realize you're disqualified for it, and then they're like, well, you're enlisted now, so what else would you like? And I just don't like that model. So, just know what you're getting into. Every branch can, quote, promise, but it's going to depend on the availability of the job for that year for boot camp, because there's quotas, and then it'll also depend on your qualifications, right? So just know the job side, like, be a little flexible. Okay, now this video has been a lot longer that I thought. But this is kind of what that briefing would look like. So I'll give you an abbreviated version, right? We go through, in the Marine Corps, we go through ICOMBAT VP, which is implants, contacts, operations, medications, broken bones, asthma, tattoos, vision, psych. The biggest thing, I really harped on it already a ton, is this. You need to be honest with your recruiter. You need to be honest with your staff NCOIC. You need to be less honest at MEPS because your recruiter and your staff NCOIC have your best interest at heart. They want you to... Think about it this way. Your recruiter only wins if you enlist. MEPS doesn't give a because MEPS is going to be like, well, this kid was disqualified because we found this thing. And they're going to talk to the recruiter. They're going to be like, go find someone else to enlist. And he's going to be like, so your recruiter has your best interest at heart. If you don't enlist at MEPS, if you don't make it through the process, he loses and he's out hunting for someone else at midnight. I kid you not. I've been at a Walmart at midnight before in my Delta uniform, which like walking around no shit in a Walmart at like 12:30 in the morning because we were going to miss mission. Now we didn't miss mission, but you do some weird stuff sometimes. So like that recruiter wants you to enlist, especially if things aren't going well in their station. So listen to what they say over what MEPS tries to scare you into saying, right? MEPS will be like, you're going to get a fine, you're going to go to felony, you're going to go to jail. Like all that's true if you lie about stuff and then it comes out. But that's got to be like, I lied about having a felony. Well, we're going to know that. Like, we're going to find that. You know, really, I've never seen anyone prosecuted for any of that stuff. But they're trying to scare you straight, like scare you into being honest, right? And so if you're not comfortable telling your recruiter, don't bring it up at all. And then once you come back from MEPS, bring it back up to your recruiter. One of the things we used to do was like, if a kid had an issue, like that he had tried to like self-diagnose, and the recruiter had told him, hey, like you're self-diagnosing this here. This is not an issue. Do not tell anyone but me because it'll screw you. Then I, as a staff, the recruiter would make sure I knew that as a staff NCOIC, and that's where I would dig. And I was trying to get that kid to say, well, okay, fine. I had this thing that I thought. And you're like, and then I would be like, no, look, dude, your recruiter told you not to say that. Why the f did you say it? Like, this is what's going to happen at MEPS. They're going to scare you, and then you're going to get like, if this had just happened at MEPS, you would not enlist. So we're going to go through all those questions and basically just make sure and grill, like, you're not lying to me. We need to know everything. Like, we have your best interest at heart. Holy smokes, this has been like a 40-minute video on MEPS, and I did not quite intend it like to be that way. My briefs were never this long. But what I would do is it would be like probably 15 minutes, probably 15, 20 minutes to every single kid who went to MEPS. And we really did grill the hell out of them. And that's how we were Station of the Year, because we knew what docs needed to go up ahead of time. And our kids knew when they went to MEPS, if you think of something, come back and we'll help you fix it. And so we had a very successful MEPS completion rate. And it was very rare that something popped that we weren't tracking on. And that made our life easier because we had more complete stuff. I mean, sometimes we had to run waivers ahead of time. We had to get more docs ahead of time. It was more work on the front end, but it made for a successful process, and it made for you going to MEPS once instead of going to MEPS 2, 3, 4 times. And that's, you know, that's how we all win. So, I hope that this has been valuable to you, and I want to end with this. If you're watching this and you're joining the military, I'm going to grab it right now. Go download a free copy of my book. The No BS Guide to Military Life, right? How to build wealth, get promoted, and achieve greatness. This is every single thing that I wish I'd known when I joined the military. This is going to talk through promotions. This is going to talk through MOSs. This is going to talk through your thrift savings plan, which is like our 401k, which is definitely something you need to know about. The VA loan, real estate investing, your military benefits. It's even going to talk through like when you decide to transition out of the military, how to make the decision for whether or not you're ready, how to set yourself up for success. Your VA disability, like ways to set yourself up and actually document stuff while you're in the service to make your life easier and better when you're out. You can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it on Audible and listen to the me narrating it, but you can just go to the website. I'll drop a link below, and you can download the PDF version for free. I don't care, 100% free. And the reason for this is, if you don't know, like our channel, From Military to Millionaire, we help service members and vets achieve financial freedom. I am a firm believer that when you serve your country, you have a unique set of benefits and opportunities that most people do not have that set you up for success. And I hate to see that squandered or missed. I don't want to say misused because it's not intentional, but like missed opportunities. And so I want to see you succeed. I want to see you make it in the military, exit the military, and be able to work on things that you're passionate about and change the world rather than go get another W-2, work a 9 to 5, and not feel fulfilled. Now, there are some great opportunities there too, but the whole point of this channel platform is to help service members and vets take advantage of those opportunities and avoid the mistakes that I made the first 7 years I was in before I figured this stuff out. So take advantage of it. Enjoy the free content. You're here, you're gonna join the military, focus on that part of the process. But once you're through boot camp, catch back up, hop in the Facebook group, or hop in the Facebook group now, but like start thinking about how to set yourself up financially for success, because there are some very basic things you can do at the beginning, like just correctly setting up your thrift savings plan, which is in that book and also on my playlist, that will make your everyday life aligned with setting up your long-term goals. And so I hope to help you along that way. Make sure if you want more of this content that you drop us a follow. And I'd love to hear comments on anything you learned from this, or you know, hey, share it with some of your friends that are going into MEPS. Like, this is a really big, scary, important day. And I told you things on this video that recruiters won't tell you, but wish they could tell you because they don't want to get in trouble. And ta-da! I'm here to help you guys. So if you got questions, hit me up.